Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Jonas. You're now tuned into The Star in You. Thank you for being here with me right now. Hopefully you guys subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. Like the page, get the views up so everybody can start knowing about the page, about this channel, and we could grow together. Thank you for tuning in. We're now gonna go with our first guy, which is gonna be J. Cole himself. Yes, Jermaine Cole. We're gonna break down his numbers. We're gonna see what he's all about. All right. Oh yeah, before we begin, there's a story I gotta tell you about J. Cole. I didn't know the guy personally, but we did go to the same school together, which was SJU, St. John's University. And I know I've seen him once. I believe he used to work upstairs, up above Marillac, in a tech center somewhere. I forgot what the name is now, or whatever. Long story short, I remember seeing J. Cole. He must have been a freshman. I think I was a sophomore. I don't remember the time when I was pre-pledging. He was a freshman, and he was opening up for Papoose and Elephant Man back then. Yeah. So that's kind of crazy to see how far he's come now from then. So that's what's kind of interesting. I want to start off with him and break down his numbers because he has interesting numbers in constant style. You see why he how he evolved the way he did and why he came from that kind of struggle and had to hustle so hard based on his numbers. So we'll begin. J. Cole was born January 28, 1985. So that makes him an air sign. He's an Aquarius. But however, we're gonna start with the one. He's born on the month of January and not February. So even though he's an Aquarius by nature, he still has sprinkles of Capricorn in him. So it just means he'll have he's cardinal. Capricorn's a cardinal, so meaning they tend to take initiative. They have this leadership kind of quality, which you kind of do see in J. Cole with certain moves that he does make individually. If he has a team, it's kind of in the background, and when he moves, it kind of looks like he's by himself. He doesn't really talk much, on his own kind of in a way like Capricorns do, because they represent the GOAT. So what the GOAT is, they climb mountains, and when they climb mountains, they climb very high altitudes and extremely cold weathers, but by themselves, and they get to the top. So in a way, that kind of describes J. Cole and his history and his struggles and how he was in the beginning and where he is now. So it's really interesting to see that kind of dynamic playing effect, or that Capricorn kind of playing effect with J. Cole's life in a way. But by nature, he is an Aquarius. So with this aspect being an Aquarius, he's more open. He's universal. He knows how to communicate well. I believe he's a communication major, but which is good for his sign because air signs like to communicate. That's a sign that rules communication. They do it very fluently, easily, and especially the way Aquarius expresses it. They express it in kind of a humanitarian way, where it's very universal. So they get along with everybody, but at the same time, they know how to detach themselves and be themselves. So they don't ruffle any feathers or anything like that, because sometimes they could be strong with their words, depending if they get used to a person, they know them too well, they live with them. So that's when you kind of feel that. So they know how to distance themselves naturally, it's nothing. So you never feel anything, there's never any ill will towards an Aquarius, So yeah, J. Cole was born January 28, which he has a song called January 28 on Forest Hill Drive. I think it was the second track, I believe. But yeah, 28. You have the 2 and the 8. The 2 is it's a feminine principle. It's a feminine number. So that aspect, I guess you could kind of see in a way where J. Cole never comes off aggressive, really aggressive, but when he wants to come off aggressive, he can, and that's where the 8 comes into play. Because the 8 is a ambitious number. It represents ambition. It also represents justice. It esoterically represents justice, a balance of weighing the good and the bad. If you do good, then you'll have mercy, and you'll feel, you'll flourish. If you do bad, then obviously you gotta feel the suffering for a little bit until you learn that lesson and grow. So now, with those two dynamics combined, being that the 8 is very aggressive and it's very ambitious and it knows how to manage money and knows how to attain, sometimes it can get very extreme to the point where the ambitions are like outlandish and it's like, what the hell are you trying to do? And it could fail. But now with this 2 aspect, it kind of controls it, subdues it a little bit because of feminine energy, so it knows how to, like, if men are aggressive in nature, I guess like the feminine aspect is trying to, like, subdue that, so calm it down, tame it. So that's what the 2 is doing to the 8. So this is where you see where J. Cole's kind of in control of himself, where he could be aggressive on the bars with the tracks, but most of the time he comes off, like welcoming, talking about the world, humanity, the Aquarius nature, talking about what's going on around the world, but very, at the same time, very commanding. Because this way you add the, well, before we even get into that, we're gonna now get into adding the 2 and the 8. The 2 and the 8 now adds the 10. This 10 represents the wheel of life, or the wheel of Samsara, esoterically you could call it. And also the wheel of fortune. So with this 10 aspect, you could fall in it, like meaning in the center of it, or you could be outside of it. Most people tend to be born outside of it. And this 10 where they're like going through life like a pendulum, like it's just back and forth, back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Not in the center, not being in control. So you go through these constant cycles, repetitions, being a 10. So it's your job to like find yourself and control yourself and be in the center of the wheel. So once you're in the center of that wheel, the wheel of Samsara, or the wheel of life, now you have control and you could dominate. And now you have more control of your destiny and see where it's going. So then now it becomes like the wheel of fortune in a way, because the 10 kind of represents fortune. So once you have this control, you see how you can guide one's life, which is your own, and which J. Cole does. He moves now in a way like a leader. So now when you break this down, the 1 plus the 0, it becomes 1, and you see this leader aspect now where he's moved a certain way, where you see that he's pretty much dominating the game where he's at right now in this lane. Whereas before, it seemed kind of indecisive, like when he came with his first LP and people had like feelings about it, people telling him to do this and that, which should kind of be like the 2 aspect in a way, not to say like, where they're like passive. They could be aggressive, but they're like passive, just trying to hear something out. And being Aquarius are naturally creative and have a lot of creativity. And even though they may say, yo, do this, do that. So they're like, all right, you know what? Now they're like feeling they being controlled, like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna try something new. I'm in this industry. And that's what happened. But eventually, being at all those placements, the 1, being being a 1 under the 1 of the Capricorn, and being a 1, a 10, 28, naturally that leadership quality was always in him. So he just found himself naturally. And he was like, screw it. I'm gonna do what I gotta do and make moves. And you can see that with J. Cole. Another leadership quality I've seen that J. Cole has done was when it happened where, remember the time around Born Sinner and that first LP where there was a lot of talk about how Nas was disappointed, he was going to kind of this commercial route and all that stuff. And J. Cole, he responded back with I Let Nas Down. And this track, he pretty much addressed everything that was going on, but without disrespect or anything, approached it like a gentleman. And, Nas took it in, embraced it, and then with open arms, he replied back. And that was what's up, because he had that leadership kind of quality, so that respect was there. And also, with the whole situation of Kanye West, he was disappointed about that. And Aquarius do have this rebellious nature where there's this realness about them. So when they're disappointed about something, they'll talk about it and they will address it out in the open. They don't care. Like, if any sign has that humility, it would be an Aquarius in many ways, man. Because they'll do things they don't care. Like, it is what it is. If they had to be that way, So he showed that, but in the same way, it still had that leader quality because he was fearless about it. He did it, still cool, calm, not disrespectful, and addressed the situation. So those leadership qualities, everything that goes on in the black community, him going to Ferguson. So you see this a lot with J. Cole. So yeah, that one aspect has definitely manifested within him from the 28.